Hi and Assalamualaikum. We are going to present about Australia and Asia engagement for the subject International Security Issues in the Asia Pacific. Presenter of this presentation are Nur Fatin Syuhada, Nur Diana Dini, Nur Syafiqah, Nur Adilah and Siti Nur Hafsyah. Introduction, I'm going to talk a little bit about Asia and a little bit about Australia. Asia, the world's largest continent by land area and population, cover about 44 million square kilometer or 30% of Earth's land area and 8% of its surface area. For Australia, it's the largest country by area in Oceania and the world's sixth largest country. It is located between the Pacific and Indian Ocean in the southern hemisphere. Okay. Australia is involved in politics, the economy and military in Asia. In order to strengthen its economic ties with the region, Australia invested Australia's Southeast Asia Economic Strategy to 2040. After determining that the region is a direct strategic interest, in terms of politics, Australia has stressed the value of positive engagement with Southeast Asia in order to influence the area in favour of common interests. Furthermore, Australia has worked to improve defence ties and project itself as a stabilizing power in the region through its military engagement with Asia, especially Southeast Asia. The Australian curriculum concentration on Asia and Australia engagement with Asia represent the nation's deep engagement with Asia in the social, cultural, political and economic domains.
Okay, next is Australia's engagement with Asia. First is engaging in trade and economic activities. In recent years, Australia has looked to Asian markets for business and economic opportunities. China is a key economic partner for Australia due to its extensive trade and investment ties. China-Australia Free Trade Agreement, which is CHAFTA, was a major event in their economic relationship in 2014. Next is developing strategic alliances. Australia seeks strategic partnership with ASEAN nation to shape its bilateral ties. Since 2014, Australia has formed strategic alliances with Japan, China, Singapore, Indonesia, Vietnam, India, Papua New Guinea, Thailand, Malaysia and ASEAN. Collaboration have taken numerous forms. These alliances aim to maximize their potential by cooperating in economic security and defence sectors. Okay, next is intervention on a multilateral scale. Australia participates in multilateral regional cooperation and security activities. The Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, the Quad, was re-established in 2017 by the US, Japan and India. Australia's September 2021 AUKUS alliances shows its commitment to regional security and technical collaboration. AUKUS includes the US and UK. Security and defence cooperation. Australia's and other Asian nations are improving security and military cooperation. The country has moved its troops closer to its border to stress regional security in its military policy. Australia's engagement in security negotiation and military cooperation shows its commitment to regional peace and security. Okay, so next is a possible connection. World education is one way Australia and Asia have collaborated. Global education emphasizes the interconnectedness of human civilization, how to create a sense of self and respect for cultural variety, how to fight for social justice and human rights, how to establish peace, and how to strive for a healthy future in many places and times. Global education instills morality and accountability. They also learn to be a global citizens who can make the world more peaceful, fair and healthy. Global learners in Australia value links with ASEAN and Indian Ocean neighbours. Another way Australia and ASEAN may connect in trade. Connect is trade. trade between Japan and Australia. East Asia has 7 of our top 10 export destinations. Their major export market is Japan. Okay, East Asian economies account for 47% of their imports. East Asia attracted 21% of foreign direct investment and sends 15% outside. Business relations between Australia and the US and Europe are stronger. However, Asia's economic growth, security and development will encourage Australian and Asian investment. These data reflect Australia's dependence on Asia. Australia's commercial worth is well known among Asians. China's current promise to sell Australia LNG for 25 years for $20 to $25 billion is one example. Australia has also always supported the G20, which is made up of Australia, the other incredibly important economies in the world, and the G8 as a group of both core industrialized nations and big emerging markets like China, Brazil, India and Indonesia. The G20 gives the region's strategically important economies a chance they have never had before to have a real say in global policy debate. Aside from that, Australia has also been a part of Financial Stability Forum, which pushes states and private financial firms like hedge funds to be more accountable and open, which is something that many of their regional partners care about. Australia and its partners in the WTO have tried to make the system for trade and business between countries more open and fairer. On top of that, they strongly spotted a great Thai choice for WTO president.
So, next, Australia also had a diplomatic relationship with Nepal, and it was established in the 1960s. So, these bilateral relations have been built on development assistance and people-to-people links through tourism and education. According to recent Australian government report, there are about 36,419 Nepalese who live in Australia. So many of these people are international students. So the Australian government has funded the scholarship program for Nepalese students who wish to study in Australia. So apart from that, Australia also maintained a strong tourist with Nepal, which there are 25,300 Australian tourists visiting Nepal between the 2014 and the 2015. So this relationship between Australia and Nepal has recently been strengthening due to the increase of migration, and this migration because of the education factor and the tourism factor. Nepal and Australia also had a strong ties in economic and a technical cooperation. Nepal was included in Australia Development Cooperation Program in 1979 following the establishment of diplomatic relations. Over the years, the Australian government and the private sector have been contributed to the economy and the social development of Nepal through assistance in the fields of health, education, forestry, hydroelectricity, training, human resources, rural development, volunteer service, strengthening the government, and peace building. Nepal also contribute in export clothing, floor covering, carpets, cotton dress, painting, and pastel to Australia. And Nepal also imports refined petroleum and vegetable. So, it is true that these both countries play their
their important role and they benefit each other.
Next, I will explain about Australia and China. Australia has an economic relationship with China. China has urbanized, industrialized, and built infrastructure since the 1970s. Building materials, electricity and transport energy and industrial raw materials were required. Australia could meet much of this demand and was a ready market for Chinese goods. China imports and exports most to Australia. China's sixth biggest trading partner, fifth largest importer, and 10th largest exporter is Australia. Australia sells 13 thermal coal to China and buy 25% manufactured products. Two-way investment is expanding. Chinese demand will evolve from basic materials to the sophisticated manufacturing, service and information. Australia might offer resources which have benefits. Australia's iron ore deposits were near the sea and easily mined, and China was nearby for shipping material which cost up to 10% of the value. Few countries had them. Many industrialized countries have the skill and technology to meet China's emerging requirements. Next is China as a market for Australia commodities. China's economy will shift from urbanization and basic manufactured products to domestic consumption and more sophisticated goods and services, reducing demand for Australian resources. Natural gas is replacing coal in Australia resources export to China, which will expand slower as Chinese earnings grow. Wool, wheat and minerals may also perform well. New coal, iron ore and gas capacity in Australia and elsewhere will lower Australia's trading terms. Australia's dollar will likely decline. This would partly reverse Australia's 10-year gain in living standards, contrary to common belief. In addition, it will boost the competitiveness of other trades, products and service businesses that have suffered from currency strength. Some may sell in China. Next is China as a market for complex goods and services. China will grow its complex products and service economy in two ways. First, growing incomes and consumer demands will boost demand for more advanced manufactured products, which is Australia, excel in medical equipment and service like tourism, which is China is already a major market. Second, China will need strong human resources, infrastructure, financial sector, and regulatory framework to produce more advanced products and services. Australia has the expertise to create this. Australia's public sector is world-class in budgeting, health administration, and social security. China already dominates Australian education service. Australia has some of the world's most stable and efficient banks. Export this government and service skill. Australia's bank operate in China, and Australian professionals have assist on urban development and health funding. The last one is China as a competitor. Australia has struggled to compete in several industrial sectors due to ASEAN growth. China will compete in more sectors as it progresses up the value chain. Shifting the Chinese economy from exporting to domestic consumption may help. Australia import 90% of its goods from China, 90% of which are heavily modified. In the 1990s, home appliances replaced textile, clothes and footwear. Currently, 50% of Australian retail imports from China are engineering items, including office and telecommunications equipment. Australia have world-class niches, continued leadership in education, and workforce sophistication is crucial. Next, I would like to explain about the engagement between Australia and India. The first one is education. The research recommends education as the flagship sector. Australia's experienced India's education gap and the reality that education and training touch practically every area of the Indian economy justify making it a priority. Quality is inadequate in Indian higher education. Indian college rank poorly globally. Technology schools and vocational training are also poor. This makes skilling India's 400 million youngsters tough. In recent years, international collaboration has helped India solve this challenge. Australia is India's second most popular education destination, and the government has cooperated with universities there for training. In recent years, Australia exports largely education to India. The second one is the role of Indian diaspora. The paper emphasizes Indian Australians' engagement with India. The Indian diaspora, which includes over 700,000 Australians of Indian heritage and Indian residents, contributes to Australia's culture and economy. Indian Australians are the second highest tax-paying migrants after British Australians. Indians are the fastest growing diaspora in Australia at 3%. By 2031, Indian-born Australians would overtake Chinese-born Australians at 1.4 million. The last one is the energy market. Australia-India economic links would improve as India's energy and resource sector grows. The research emphasized energy and resource agribusiness may take longer than CECA due to the Indian farmers' unwillingness to accept Australian tariff reductions. Australia has much to gain from energy, despite attempts to enhance domestic natural gas and oil explorations and production, renewable energy generation, and coal output. India needs international collaboration to satisfy its increasing energy demands. Australia can provide India with coal, uranium gas, and innovative mining and renewable technology.
Next, I will explain about the Australia and Philippines bilateral relations. And these countries has signed the joint declaration on Philippines-Australia Comprehensive Partnership on 18 November 2015. Australia and Philippines, they had a strong ties in economic cooperation, also trade, even politics. Australia and the Philippines, they share a strong partnership in the thriving Asia-Pacific region, both experiencing consistent growth since 1990s, with the Philippines posting its fastest 5-year average growth rate since the 1970s. Its economic progress trajectory appears promising, rooted in governance reforms and a buoyant commercial sector. This upward trend paved the way for increased trade, investment, and business venture between these two countries to foster mutual benefits. As an active members of APEC and participants in the EAS, both countries intend to further strengthen their economic ties, also to contribute to the stability, security, prosperity, and wider region. Supported by the agreements such as AA and ZFTA, their trade has soared to a 4.1 billion Australian dollars in 2014, leading to a significant increases in bilateral trade in goods and services. Australian investment in the Philippines reaching 9.6 billion Australian dollar, and the presence of over 200 Australian firms across a range of industries showcases the depth and the breadth of their rapidly growing economic ties. Australia and Philippines share an ambitious free trade agreement agenda. For example, the Philippines hope to join the Trans-Pacific Partnerships, of which Australia was a foundation member and could assist the Philippines' accessions process. Australia plans to support national quality infrastructure and trade research and negotiation capacity building. So it was true that these countries, Philippines and Australia, was really benefits each other in economic ties.
Next, we are going to discuss about Australia and Indonesia engagement. Indonesia-Australia relations overview. Regular high-level meetings in Indonesia and Australia annual leaders meeting, foreign and defense minister, 2+2 meeting, ministerial council on law and security, economic, trade and investment ministers meeting, economic policy dialogue, and ministerial energy dialogue. Recent annual leaders meeting in Australia focused on strengthening relationships, discussing new initiatives, and enabling more Australians and Indonesians professionals to work in each country. Universities considering opening campuses in Indonesia. Collaboration on regional and global fora. G20 East Asia Summit, ASEAN Regional Forum, Indian Ocean Rim Association, MECTA, Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. President Joko Widodo's 5-time visit to Australia since 2014. Next is Australia trade relations with Indonesia. Strong commercial trade relations due to expanding consumer market and developing industrial capabilities. Indonesia's infrastructure investment plans on aligning with Australia's industrial capabilities. Pandemic severely impacted Australia's service export to Indonesia, mainly involving Indonesian students. Resumption of cross-border cooperation, facilitating recovery of services through Indonesia's growth rate of around 5.3% in 2022. Australian investment in Indonesian equities reached 4.27 billion in 2021. Australian government committed to enhancing trade and investment partnership with Indonesia. Next is Indonesia-Australia education relation. Indonesia is also a police destination for students under the Australian government's new Colombo plans. Since 2014, over 10,700 scholarship and mobility grants have been awarded for Australian undergraduates studying and working in Indonesia. Australia supports education reform in Indonesia through the development cooperation program, building over 3,000 junior secondary schools and providing 495,000 new places for children in disadvantaged areas. University focuses on improving learning outcome for children in Indonesia's basic education sector. Australia awards offer prestigious scholarships and short courses to emerging leaders from developing countries. The Bridge program, established in 2008, used technology to build links between Australia and Indonesian teachers and students. Australia-Indonesia maritime collaboration. Australia-Indonesia has the world's largest maritime border. Maritime collaboration is a key part of the Australia-Indonesian Comprehensive Strategic Partnerships at CSP 2020 until 2024. The plan builds on the Joint Declaration on Maritime Collaboration from 2017. Key areas include enhanced maritime domain awareness, border protections, combating illicit fishing, information exchange, regional and coastal interconnectivity, maritime safety, and sustainable marine resource governance. Australia-Malaysia bilateral relations. Australia and Malaysia are significant allies in the Indo-Pacific region, characterized by frequent high-level visits and collaboration on strategic, economic, security, health, and education matters. The bilateral ties are strengthening due to shared interests on moderate-sized democratic states and open economies. In 2021, Australia and Malaysia upgraded their relationships to a comprehensive strategic partnerships. CSP is supported by annual leader-level meetings and collaboration in economic success, society and technology, and the defense and regional security. The CSP focuses on economic recovery and development, healthcare, education, digital economy, and emerging research and innovation fields. Australia and Malaysia will commemorate on the 70th anniversary of Australia's diplomatic establishment in Malaysia in 2025. Australia and Malaysia economic and commercial connections. Malaysia ranks as the second most significant commercial partners among ASEAN member states and 8th overall in 2021. Australia and Malaysia are collaborating to enhance their economic connections. Australia and Special Envoy to Southeast Asia Nicholas Moore will visit Malaysia in March 2020. Has visited Malaysia in March 2023. Both countries aim for unrestricted and accessible trading system. 4 active free trade agreements exist, which is NAFTA, ANZAFTA, RCEP and CPTPP. Australia-Malaysia Defence and Security Collaborations. Long-standing defence and security collaboration dating back to World War II. Australian forces played a crucial role in defending Malaya and liberating Sarawak, Sabah and Labuan. Australia participated in the Malayan Emergency 1950 until 1963. The confrontation in 1963 until 1966 ensued after the events of Sandakan. Defence partnership progressed via the Five Power Defence Arrangement and the Malaysian-Australia Joint Defence Programme. Australia maintains a continuous presence at Royal Malaysia Air Force Base Perth. Close collaboration in police cooperation, security measures, counter-terrorism efforts, transnational crime prevention, marine security and immigration enforcement. Collaboration with the Malaysia Coast Guard, MMEA, and Royal Malaysian Customs Department, RMCD, focus on border protection and border modernization. 2023 marked the golden jubilee of the Australia Federal Police Liaison Office in Malaysia. And lastly, Malaysia-Australia Agricultural Trade Cooperation. Both nations collaborate with bilateral agencies to enhance policy discussion on agricultural trade and interests. MAACWG and MA-MAFTA frameworks are primary platform for strategic and operational bilateral agricultural discussions. Malaysia and Australia are actively seeking ways to improve regulatory procedures and systems to trade promotion and food security. MAACWG focuses on food security and food safety and collaboration with private companies to explore potential market and investment prospects in food and agriculture industries.
For the conclusion, Australia is involved in the political, military and economic sphere of Asia. Australia has declared Southeast Asia to be a direct strategic interest in the economic domain. In recent years, Australia's commercial and investment linkages with Asia have increased dramatically, becoming more interwoven and interdependent, maintaining strong ties with important nations and regional groups like ASEAN has been fundamental goal of Australia's political involvement with Asia in order to advance common goals and regional stability. Australia has made an attempt to fortify defence ties and project stability throughout the area as a part of its military engagement in Asia, especially in Southeast Asia. Thank you.